Welcome back, boys and girls. Today we're going to continue reading our story, Pinocchio. Okay, we left off with Pinocchio, who was supposed to go to school, right? Because he promised the fairy he would go to school so he could become a real boy. Met his friend, Lampwick, and his friend asked him to come with him to Toyland, in which he did. So he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And that's where we are now, is they're in Toyland. So we'll see. This chapter is called A Nasty Surprise. 5 months passed. Wow, that's a long time. Pinocchio and Lampwick never opened a book or sat at a desk. They just played and laughed from morning until night, day after day. Then one morning, Pinocchio had a nasty surprise. When he woke up, something felt strange. He reached up to touch his head and was shocked to discover that his ears had grown at least 10 inches and they were all hairy. He rushed to the mirror to look at himself and discovered that overnight he had grown donkey ears. Oh, remember the donkeys had shoes on, like little kids' shoes? He wanted to shout, but all that came out of his mouth was a loud hee-haw. Pinocchio began to weep, and his crying came in little piercing shrieks. The noise brought Lampwick running into the room. To Pinocchio's horror, Lampwick had grown donkey ears too. "What's wrong?" Lampwick tried to say, but he too could only manage a loud hee-haw. When he saw his new ears in the mirror, he began to cry with the same little shrieks as Pinocchio. The two boys cried until they could cry no more, and then they began to laugh, loud, braying laughs. All at once their arms turned into legs, their faces stretched into snouts, and their backs grew gray, bristly fur. They even grew tails. They had become donkeys. A knock at the door put a stop to their laughing and braying. "It's the wagon driver," said a voice. "Open up." Uh-oh. The wagon driver smiled at the boys. "You have turned into fine donkeys," he said, gently smoothing their coats. "You are ready to be taken to the market." The wagon driver was not the kind gentleman he appeared to be. He was a villain who rounded up all of the naughty children who hated school and took them to Toyland. He turned them into donkeys and sold them at the market for the best price he could get. Lampwick was sold to a farmer, and Pinocchio went to the owner of a circus, who fed him dry straw and taught him to do tricks. When he didn't want to do his tricks properly, his master beat him. It was a hard life, and Pinocchio was miserable. "If only I'd kept my promise to the kind fairy," Pinocchio thought glumly. "I would be at home now and so much happier." At the circus one night, Pinocchio was surprised to jump through a hoop, but his hind legs got caught and he fell to the floor. When he got up, he was lame. "You are no use to me anymore," growled his master. The next day, he sold him to a man who wanted to make a drum out of his skin. Pinocchio's new owner then threw him into the sea, waiting for him to drown so that he could skin him. It's awful. And as he swam, his skin fell away. He became Pinocchio, the wooden puppet, once more. Wow. See what happens when you don't do what you're told? You turn into a donkey. In the belly of a shark, Pinocchio swam happily, relieved to be himself again, when suddenly a horrible sea monster stuck its head out of the water. Its huge mouth was filled with rows of sharp, gleaming teeth, and Pinocchio knew this was the great shark. He tried to escape, but he wasn't fast enough. The great shark swallowed him whole, and Pinocchio went tumbling down into the monster's belly. Pinocchio, terrified, tried to feel his way through the shark's inky black stomach. A kind tuna who had also been swallowed by the shark was going the other way. "I'm going to try swimming through the shark's mouth," said the tuna. "Come with me." But Pinocchio was too frightened to follow. A moment later, he saw a faint light in the distance. As he moved closer, he saw a table set for dinner, lighted by a candle stuck in a bottle. At the table sat a tired-looking old man. Pinocchio almost fainted with happiness when he saw who it was. "Father!" he cried, running toward the old man. "Can I believe my eyes?" cried Geppetto, throwing his arms around Pinocchio. "Are you really my own dear Pinocchio?" "Yes, father, yes," said Pinocchio. "And now that I've found you, I will never ever leave you again." The two hugged and wept with joy. Then Pinocchio and Geppetto told each other everything that had happened since they had last seen each other. When they had finished telling their stories, Pinocchio said, "Father, we must find a way to escape. I met a tuna who was going to try swimming out of the shark's mouth. I think we should try that too." "But Pinocchio," said Geppetto, "I can't swim." "Don't worry, Father," Pinocchio assured him. "I am a fine swimmer and I will carry you." They climbed up the shark's throat and then waited until the monster fell asleep. "The time has come," Pinocchio said to Geppetto. Trying not to slip, they crept across the shark's huge tongue right to the opening of its mouth. The old shark slept with its mouth wide open, making their task easier. "Grab my shoulders, Father," Pinocchio whispered. When Geppetto was holding tight, Pinocchio dived straight into the ocean and swam away from the shark. They were free. As Pinocchio swam, he could feel Geppetto shivering. He didn't know whether his father was trembling with cold or fear, but he tried to stay calm for both of their sakes. "It won't be long now, Father," he said. "We must be near the shore." But they weren't. Pinocchio couldn't see anything but the sea, and he was growing more tired by the minute. All at once, a friendly voice said, "Hang on to my tail, I'll take you to the shore." It was the friendly tuna that Pinocchio had met in the belly of the great shark. The tuna brought them safely to the shore. After thanking the fish for saving their lives, Pinocchio and Geppetto walked off in search of a house where they might find something to eat. Geppetto was so weak that he had to lean on Pinocchio's shoulder. "It's all right, Father," Pinocchio said tenderly. "We can stop whenever you need to rest." Before they had taken 100 steps, Pinocchio saw two familiar figures by the side of the road, the fox and the cat. They looked miserable. And now the cat was blind and the thin, balding fox had been forced to sell his tail. "Oh dear, Pinocchio," the fox said sadly. "Please give us a penny or two. You can see how old, tired, and sick we are." But Pinocchio was not about to be tricked again. He and Geppetto left them by the side of the road. At the end of the road, they found a tiny straw cottage near a clump of trees. They knocked on the door, and to Pinocchio's amazement, it was answered by the talking cricket. The cricket made a warm bed of straw for Geppetto and told Pinocchio about a kind farmer who would give him milk in exchange for his help with the chores. Pinocchio rushed off to the farm, ready to do anything to help his father. He was so happy, for he now knew that the talking cricket had been his friend all along. A real boy at last. Over the next few months, Geppetto grew strong thanks to the milk Pinocchio brought home. Pinocchio also learned to weave baskets from reeds and sold them at the market. With the money he earned, he bought food and books. He taught himself how to read and studied hard every night. One night he fell asleep and dreamed that the fairy Blue Hair came to him. "Well done, Pinocchio," she said. "You have shown that you can work hard and that you have a kind heart. I forgive you for all of your past mischief. Keep doing well and you will be happy." Pinocchio's eyes flew open and he found himself in a soft bed in a big, bright room. On a chair was a handsome suit of clothes. When Pinocchio put it on and looked in the mirror, an amazing sight greeted him. Instead of a puppet looking back at him, there was a rosy-cheeked boy with brown hair and blue eyes. "Father!" Pinocchio called joyfully. He ran into the next room and there was Geppetto, carving a beautiful picture frame just as he used to do. Pinocchio jumped into his father's lap. "Father, look at me," he said. "I'm not a puppet anymore." "No," said Geppetto sincerely. "You are my son, and you have brought me such joy, and I am happy too." "Father," said Pinocchio with glee, "now that I am a real boy at last." Oh, what a sweet story. But Pinocchio was not doing so well for a very long time. See what happens when you do as you're supposed to do? You are rewarded. Remember that, boys and girls. Okay? I hope you enjoyed our story, Pinocchio. I miss you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.